ounces. Those 4,639 contracts at 5,000 an ounce says 23,195,000 ounces stood for delivery. We want the metal for February, okay? Non-delivery month. So you're talking times 80, 90 bucks, you're talking a couple $2 billion, right? However, the actual February withdrawals, so that's delivered into COMEX. Well, they've always talked about it, but how about creating a fund, let's call it SLV, which is the largest stockpile of silver in the world. That not only are the exchanges not trusted any longer, but that the amount of availability of the actual metal itself pales in comparison to the number of contractual claims. You're talking something where, this suppression begins to fail. The decades-long suppression begins to fail, and to me, this is a philosophical question, a moral question. A week before, 4 days before the March contract went off the board, before I finished February, there was 300 million ounces in open contracts. That late in the delivery cycle is crazy, with only 88 million ounces of silver backing it. Almost 4 to 1, 3.5 to 1 disparity. More contracts than bars available. That late in the system, well, they worked it down by raising margins and cash selling, whatever the hell they did, they found a way to do it. But this is continually happening, where there's all these deliveries, and leading up to the very end of the delivery cycle, something has to happen. So what did they do? For the fourth time in 2 months, there was a glitch, ironically, right? The first glitch happened the day after Thanksgiving, right? The day after Thanksgiving, when silver and gold were taking off and just about to explode the night of Thanksgiving at 11 o'clock at night, supposedly all this action going on. Most of us were trying to keep awake to watch the end of the football game because of all the turkey we ate. The market, or the servers that run the metals portion of the CME group, happened to overheat. So it was shut down. Just those, right? There's 1,000 commodities traded on COMEX, but just those overheated. From 11 to 11 the next day, it was shut down. When it opened, it collapsed, went up. Silver went up 120% over the next 60 days. Well, that was number one. Number 2 and 3 was a couple weeks ago, when silver got creamed, right? Fell by 30+% or whatever the number was, just got absolutely creamed. Markets don't work that way. But what happened? Oh, 2 glitches in a row, 2 days in a row, where the circuit breakers didn't work when the price was falling. Should have stopped the market. Sorry, it was a glitch. It didn't
work.
And it just happened again last week. Right as silver was taking off, a glitch. And the thing, they suspended trading in precious metals and natural gas. I think they threw in natural gas just because, to make it less obvious. What happened? They smacked the price down again. So it's not working. It's losing confidence. But anyways, he goes on to say a delivery squeeze would happen, a liquidity event, a rush into physical metal, a failure of the paper market to contain real demand. This is how you get the type of move that takes silver into the $300 conversation. But let's look at February for one moment, because so at the end of February, anything that's left open in February has to be delivered. Also at the end of February, the March contract goes into delivery, and that's what they did for March. But in February, there was somewhere in the neighborhood of roughly, well, let me see if I can give you the exact number. Well, it won't be exact, but these numbers will be very close to what it was, because I didn't see the exact closing numbers. But so here's what's crazy. For February, there was roughly 30 million ounces delivered into COMEX, right? 30 million ounces. Actually, it was 23,195,000 a few days before the end of the delivery. I didn't see the last day. So for the February contract, they had 4,639 contracts that stood for delivery. And it's a non-delivery month. So February is just a month where you could stand for delivery, not a primary delivery month. January, March, May, they're primary delivery months. So anyways, for February, non-delivery month, 23,195,000 with 2 or 3 days left. The number probably is 25, 26 million ounces. Those 4,639 contracts at 5,000 an ounce says 23,195,000 ounces stood for delivery. We want the metal for February, okay? Non-delivery month. So you're talking times 80, 90 bucks, you're talking a couple $1 billion, right? However, the actual February withdrawals, so that's delivered into COMEX, but leaving COMEX, 38,082,934 ounces left COMEX. Wow. That's 164% of the February delivery demand. That means more metal is being pulled out than delivery alone can explain. Highly unusual.
Among the most striking forecasts comes from metals research at Bank of America. Analysts have suggested that silver could potentially reach astonishing levels, with estimates ranging as high as $135 to $309 per ounce under certain conditions. These projections are partly based on the historically wide gold-to-silver ratio, a metric often used to measure relative value between the two metals. When this ratio becomes unusually large, some analysts argue silver may be undervalued compared to gold. But forecasts like these also hint at something deeper: a potential stress point in the financial system, where demand for tangible assets begins to overwhelm the paper-based markets that dominate modern trading.
If a 500-ounce mint box weighs 42 pounds, who in God's green earth is taking possession of 38,092,000 ounces of silver? You're talking an armada of semi-trucks that would be filled to the... So you have logistics, insurance, storage. The only place that it makes sense to me is the Exchange Stabilization Fund taking it on behalf of the Treasury. Why? Oh, that's right. They called it a critical mineral. Maybe that's why we've seen 16 straight months of deliveries like this. And if it is for national security, the Exchange Stabilization Fund not only doesn't need congressional approval, they don't need to tell anyone. Well, isn't it? Oh, that's right. Strategic mineral for national security. To me, this is either some very big corporation like Tesla, or more likely, because it's been every single month,
the government.
It's the government. Now, I want to be very clear on something. Yeah. Not all the metal that's delivered always leaves COMEX, right? Some of it stays in the eligible category where they think it's safe. Maybe that's a Tesla. Well, we'll get it when we need it. But to see 164% or 15 million ounces more leave than were delivered, well, that's something that is beyond unusual. That is 4 feet of snow in Death Valley in July.
One of the most important signals in the precious metals market is the demand for physical delivery. On futures exchanges such as Chicago Mercantile Exchange, investors typically trade contracts representing metal rather than requesting the actual bars themselves. However, when more participants start demanding real delivery, it can expose shortages within the system. Recent trading cycles have shown unusually high delivery requests for silver, raising concerns that the volume of contracts may far exceed the amount of metal available. If such imbalances continue to grow, they could trigger what traders call a delivery squeeze, forcing prices higher as buyers compete for limited physical supply.
Well, they've always talked about it, but how about creating a fund, let's call it SLV, which is the largest stockpile of silver in the world, which is held by, let's call it, JP Morgan. And let's just pretend, oh, that's right, there's no pretend. They paid the largest fine that the Justice Department ever handed out for manipulating the metals market, a $920 million fine. They and their buddies BlackRock are the custodians of the world's largest silver trust and one of the largest stockpiles of gold in the world, GLD. In the prospectus, it says we cannot take possession of the metal. We can't, but they can. The primary or the authorized participants can. So you have the fox guarding the henhouse. And give you an example of how they mess with things. In February of 2021, in the middle of silver squeeze, when all this money is flowing into silver, BlackRock on a Saturday night made an amendment to the, an amendment to the prospectus. And they said something to the extent that shares are only created when an authorized participant deposits metal into the trust, right? So if you buy SLV and there's this period of all of these shares being issued, we will acknowledge receipt and confirm the trade, but you may not get your confirmation of the share. In essence, there could be a lag time before the metal goes in. So give them a grace period. Yes, you're in, you're locked in, but the metal comes in, then you get your actual share information, more or less is what they're saying. So let's talk about what happened 2 weeks ago. I may have mentioned this already, but on your show, but you know, you had silver at $115 before they smashed the hell out of it down to $65. they sell tremendous amounts of SLV at the top. When it gets down to $65, two things happen. Number one, their primary custodian, JP Morgan, first, for their own interest, covered 800 contracts at 5,000 ounces apiece at the very bottom. And what else happened? 38 million ounces of silver magically went into the trust at the very bottom. So, in other words,
they were manipulating prices to buy it.
Yeah, they sold 38 million up here, and then they deposited it down here. So they bought it down here and put it in down here.
That's what I'm saying.
At a 35-40% discount. And then you realize that that metal is now in the vaulting system of these
custodians. That can't be legal.
Well, now the metal is controlled by these folks who can do what's called share redemption, and they can redeem their own shares and pull the metal out in a much more opaque manner, so no one really sees what's happening.
Is it really legal? I mean, come on, that's not okay.
Look, when you realize that Bart Chilton was told to back down even after he went to Hank Paulson's office, the Treasury Secretary, and said they're in violation of our agreement and antitrust law, and he said, back down, Bart, it's a political decision. He says that publicly and then dies a few days later. Now that dying, maybe it was more than coincidental, but maybe he was a man who knew he was close to dying and wanted to clear his conscience on Chris Marcus's and Andrew Maguire's show. I don't know, but I will tell you this, that if they were told to back down the head of the CFTC for prosecuting antitrust violations, which should have been prosecuted, is it illegal? I don't know. Is JP Morgan the agent of the government? I don't know how to explain it other than to say it's very dirty for sure.
The silver market has also experienced sudden and unusual price swings in recent years. At times, trading disruptions or technical glitches have coincided with rapid movements in precious metals prices. Critics argue that these events raise questions about how commodity markets operate, especially when trading is paused or restricted during periods of extreme volatility. The largest silver exchange-traded fund, iShares Silver Trust, managed by institutions including BlackRock and JP Morgan Chase, also plays a major role in shaping supply dynamics. Because these funds hold enormous quantities of metal, their trading activity can influence both prices and investor confidence in the broader market.
So palladium is about
Rome?
right around $1,800 an ounce right now. I was just looking. I remember most of my career, platinum is 2,300.
It used to be more than gold for a while.
Palladium was higher than anything for a while, higher than platinum and gold. I remember most of my career it was $200 or $300. One of the things that made it go way higher was right around. I guess it would have been right around 2000, I think. It could have, I mean, I'm going way back. I was in the industry in 1989. I remember Ford Motor Company. See, platinum and palladium have similar properties.
So you know what I'm going with this.
Yeah, so Ford Motor Company retooled, they started the trend, and all the auto companies retooled their assembly lines to use palladium instead of platinum for catalytic converters. And as it is now, palladium is the primary catalytic converter catalyst for
push the
unleaded
price
vehicles.
Way up.
Yes, and platinum for diesel.
But see now, silver has characteristics that these can't match.
Well, that's the point. When you
so why wouldn't it perform like palladium? You know, why wouldn't it do that?
Because silver is the tool of the military-industrial complex.
Well, other than suppression, other than artificial means, if the market was there to operate like a market would, I mean, I'm saying all of history is not relevant when suddenly it has a high-tech use that it never had before.
Well, and that's what you see happening right now, I think. This is why there is such not only a drive to stand for physical delivery and to pull it off the exchanges. That's the big money telling you we don't trust the exchanges because of what we are saying here. Now, that's an inconvenient truth that they don't want to admit. And palladium, which didn't have the same strategic properties for military uses the way that silver did, that reacted to the auto industry buying it up massively to replace platinum as a catalyst. And I would say to you that all manipulations end badly, and when there is a realization that not only are the exchanges not trusted any longer, but that the amount of availability of the actual metal itself pales in comparison to the number of contractual claims. You're talking something where, this suppression begins to fail. That decades-long suppression begins to fail, and to me, this is a philosophical question, a moral question.
Unlike many commodities, silver sits at the intersection of finance and technology. Historically, it served as a monetary metal alongside gold. Today, it also plays a crucial role in modern industry. Silver is widely used in electronics, renewable energy systems, and advanced technologies due to its exceptional conductivity and durability. Governments have increasingly recognized its strategic importance, even classifying it as a critical mineral in certain sectors. This dual role as both an industrial material and a store of value means that shifts in either technology demand or financial markets can have a powerful impact on its price trajectory.
Well, and I think things are being forced back to reality that, silver and gold, these things are tangible, they're scarce, they're incorruptible, they can't be wished into existence by policymakers, they can't be, rehypothecated in the way you can paper. And silver is not just an industrial metal, it is not just a speculative metal, it sits at the crossroads of money, industry, scarcity, and trust right now. And if Bank of America is even remotely right, physical demand overwhelms the paper market, the move in silver from here could be far greater than most people are prepared for.
That's right.
I do mean that. And there will be tons of volatility along the way, and there'll be tons of smash downs. But the paper market, I think to continue to hold confidence, it's breaking right here and right now. And so
it's crazy,
we're
I know.
close.
Yeah, we are. Okay, and people need to go to sarahwestall.com/MilesFranklin, fill out that form, get your price list.
Yep.
Because here's the thing that I've been telling everybody is that that silver and gold, they are a commodity, right? And that they shouldn't be paying higher premiums than they should. And when they talk to you, you're going to be treated with respect like someone who understands how to buy precious metals. They're not going to say, oh, this is a retail buyer, we're going to screw them over. You're going to give them respect and give them the kind of markup that you would do to somebody that knows what they're doing. And
We've
that's
never
the
had
difference.
a customer complaint in 36 years, and God help me if one of yours is the first, I'll make sure of it. And I want to leave people with one thing, and I thank you, Sarah, for your trust, and you've always been someone I admired. I always tell you that, but I mean it, because of our business dealings off the camera, where you are a person of great integrity, and I tell that to anyone who will listen. But I want to leave people with one thing. We're getting to the point where the paper promises, the unlimited cash, is coming into focus against metals that are finality and are limited. And when price finally meets value, which in this case rarely happens, it rarely happens politely. And I think we are getting to that point where the big money understands that price and value are disconnected completely and totally. And whatever the price is, its valuation, its real value in the real world is far higher than we are being told.
That's
for
right.
The Western paper price.
Markets can sometimes maintain a gap between price and underlying value for long periods. But when confidence weakens or physical supply becomes scarce, that gap may close rapidly. In the precious metals market, many analysts believe the balance between paper contracts and real metal will eventually be tested. If investors begin prioritizing tangible assets over financial instruments, prices could adjust dramatically. Historically, such transitions rarely occur smoothly. Whether silver ultimately reaches the extraordinary levels predicted by some analysts remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, the global financial landscape is evolving, and precious metals may once again play a central role in the world economy.